So, how do you transform a deteriorating painted mural into masterpiece of glass mosaic tile?
Okay, I'm going to show you part of the process where I take my template. This will all make sense in the end when I start piecing it together.
So, how do you transform a deteriorating painted mural into a mosaic glass tile work of art? Actually, something better than this. This is actually my house. This mural has been here since the house was built, and my wife grew up in this house. I own the house now. Since it's fallen apart, we needed to decide what we were going to do with it. We're going to try and repair it, we're just going to paint over it, or replace it with something. Since it's kind of in many family photos since the 60s, was kind of something that we didn't want to just get rid of altogether. So there's a person I know that is very talented that is working on a project that's going to transform this, well actually not this actual painting, because it's nice, but the perspective is off. It's not a fantastic painting of Venice. So we're going to replace this with an image of Venice in glass mosaic tile made by a very talented artist that's working on it right now. Her name is Angie Ré, and I'll put all her information in the description below. But this video is going to be about how we transform this mural into a glass mosaic work of art. She's working on it now, and in this video we're going to get into how she goes about selecting the materials, cutting the materials, and the process of making this 11 foot, I think it's 11 foot 6 by 3 foot 10 mural. Then she's going to ship it to me, and I'm going to install it. This video is about how the process begins, and I'm going to let Angie tell you about that in this video. Keep watching. Very interesting. It's just amazing the work that she does. So let's get to that.
Hey everybody, my name's Angie Ré. I am the owner of Unique Mosaics, and my studio is based out of South Salt Lake, Utah. What I'm about to do, or show you rather, is a little bit of a process of how I make a mosaic mural. I'll be doing a project with Sal, and it's really cool. It's going to be 11 feet 7 inches long, and it's going to be of Venice, Italy. So it's a really cool project. I'm going to be working with stained glass and shipping it out to him in sheets so that he can install it where he is at. So behind me is a collection of glass pieces that I got to do this project with. I will show you a little bit what I picked out, and these are just various colors of glass pieces, and I chose the sizes based on my estimated square footage that I'm going to be able to need. Now obviously they're not going to stay in sheets, but this is how it all starts out. So it will be cut down, and then into manageable pieces. All right. Okay, I'm going to show you part of the process where I take my template and I have laid it down. And what I used for a template, I had this big picture printed out. So Sal gave me an image that he wanted me to make in Mosaic, and then told me the size dimensions. And then what I did was, I had a friend of mine who has a giant printer. She printed this out in tiles for me, like paper tiles. And basically, the mosaic isn't going to look exactly like this, because in order for me to stay within a budget, I'm going to cut larger pieces and mix in some smaller pieces instead of doing like an entire thing in tiny mosaics. So each project's different, and I handle it in different ways. But I did need this image so that I can keep the proportions and everything accurate. So, for example, these posts I'll probably do in one piece. So I'll cut that piece out, and then I'll cut this piece out. But I needed some guidelines, and that's what this image is doing. I'm not going to use all of this. I'm not going to add in all this little detail, but I am going to put in water the way that I want to do it. So luckily I have creative freedom, and Sal is trusting me to do a really awesome job. The image was cropped off a little bit at the bottom, so I just drew in some lines where I wanted the boat and the water to meet, and just made adjustments there. I made sure that all of my corners were square, and the reason why this is here is because I needed a something to butt up the glass against. So I made sure I got this molding and built sort of like a makeshift frame around the outside of it, and just clamped it down where I needed to. And on my table, I can't put any clamps here, so I have some really sticky double-sided tape that this isn't going to go anywhere. So now I have a clear line to make sure that the work that I do is going to fit in the space. We live in two different states, so I needed to make sure that the work that I'm making fits in the space that he has. But anyways, so that's that part of the process, and I'll show you next how I cut the glass down from big sheets into smaller pieces. Okay, I'm going to show you guys how I cut down a big piece of glass. This is 8-inch thick stained glass, and I will be cutting it down to smaller pieces so that I can work with them in the mosaic. For this particular piece, I know that I'm going to use some random shapes, so being exact isn't really that important, but I do need to make sure that I cut the glass down to size. And I start out by using this tool, so it scores and then it snaps with the feet right here. It's made by Ruby, and I love this tool for this purpose. So first I'm gonna score the flattest side of the glass, and I start in the middle. It's best to start in the middle of a larger piece of glass so that it cuts properly. So there's that. Because this is mosaics, I can pick and choose what pieces I want. And I can leave out the part that already has a score line in it. So I'm going to do it here as well. I try to only score one time because it's kind of a one-shot thing. So now my pieces are getting smaller. And what I'm going to do with this piece is cut it into strips, but I also want to pre-score some of the shapes that I want, and I will show you what I'm talking about, because I'm wanting these random. So I'm going to score it there. Kind of going at an angle to make sure I get the shapes that I want. Okay, now the strips that I want to cut, I'm going to start in the middle. And then if I wanted it smaller, I would just continue to cut smaller, but I'm going to get two strips off of that side and 2 strips off of this side, because I want kind of larger pieces to work with. Okay, so I've got my score directions going at angles horizontally, and I've got the strips going vertical. Okay, so I put the feet here at the bottom, and I just kind of support it underneath with my hand. Put it there. There. See, sometimes it does this, but that's not a big issue for me. It is if you get into more detailed stained glass, where you need a specific shape, you would use a different tool. This tool is mainly just to break my glass down. So and I can cut these pieces off with nippers later on. And a lot of the times, whenever I do stained glass murals, I will use the side that doesn't have the score line on it. So if for a mural this size, I don't always grind all of the edges. So I might use a side like that. If you notice that the stained glass has different colors, and that's the beauty of it. You can just kind of pick and choose what side you want. And if there's a visible score line, you can easily grind that off, but you can barely see it. And what I do is I just take like a container and I separate each color that I do into different containers so I can see what I have. This will all make sense in the end when I start piecing it together. And I can cut this down later on, but for now I'll put it in here because I might want to keep that one. Alright, so that's how I cut it down. Roughly cut it down into smaller pieces that I can work with. Okay, so I'm going to show you a little bit about how I choose colors from the glass that I've already picked up. So I've labeled all my buildings and main structures. You can see there's buildings 1 through 16. So I've got all of these labeled with sticky notes. And you come over here to my glass, and I have sticky notes marking what colors go to what object in the mosaic. So some of the colors go to several objects, and I try to make sure that I repeat certain colors to make it more pleasing to the eye. So I've got all of these colors labeled. For my building, so I won't get confused. And sometimes I'll change things up as I go, but I like to have a pretty good plan. I've got different colors for the water, and then there's also some water color right here in the greens, and then I have different colors for the sky. And whenever I was purchasing my glass, I was trying to determine how much of each one that I need. So it was kind of a guessing game, but for the most part, I understood what I needed because of the size of the project. And I made sure I got enough square footage. So if I have to go back and get more, then I'll do that. But I just wanted to get the colors labeled that are for the main structures and the main sections of this mosaic. Everything else that is extra, like whenever I start making the people in the gondolas, then I'll just pull from my own personal stash of stained glass and colors.
Okay, so in the next video, we'll see how Angie puts more of this mosaic together, how it actually comes together, all the different colors and all the different pieces, and how she actually does that. And we'll get a better look at it. And so don't forget to leave your comments in the comment section. Please subscribe, ring that notification bell, and check out the description for all of Angie's information and for other useful links that you might find down there. Thanks for watching. Don't forget, next video coming up soon.